You want me to do the whole spiel now?
Have fun. Yeah, do your spiel.
Or you want to do it? They can hear you.
Spiel. You're welcome to Kinstretch.
Welcome to Kinstretch with the Upgrade Guys. I'm not a what? Coach RT3 is behind the camera. We are the Upgrade Guys across all platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We also have a website, theupgradeguys.com. Lots of free content on YouTube and Instagram. Today we're going to be doing some shoulder and scapular stuff, so shoulder blade stuff, and some elbow stuff. All of this relates to shoulder pain, mace swinging, throwing, doing anything overhead, tennis, volleyball, all these things, even lifting overhead. And we're going to start with CARs. CAR stands for controlled articular rotations. When we do this portion, we just ask you to do the circle that is appropriate for you. And in the beginning, we're going to do a small circle to really feel what you can control. I'll do it from a kneeling position, but you're welcome to do it from half kneeling, seated, or if you need to be in a chair, or even standing. The idea is that I'm going to articulate my shoulder in a nice big circle in whatever ranges of motion my shoulder should have. The first thing I ask you to think about is your arm. Your arm is a stick. So when you rotate this stick, I want it to rotate as one piece. Because part of what we're going to break down today is when elbow rotation occurs and when shoulder rotation occurs, and those things are very important. Those are the things that those joints have to do. If they don't do that, they can't do anything else. But you want to move your stuff. You'll see that if you, for example, did a shoulder day, or you did something that was heavy on your legs or something, and then you do a lot of CARs and you do a lot of light isometric stuff, that you flush nutrition to those areas and you keep the brain familiar with those ranges of motion that you use within the skill, and you can expand that so you can keep it. So back to the shoulder CAR, my arm is a stick. Fuck the police. If my arm is a stick, my bad, I just heard a siren, so I was like, but I reacted before I saw the ambulance. No, it wasn't an ambulance, it was a fire truck. But anyway, I thought it was the police. So let me do what I'm doing. Remember, you on that side of the camera, I'm on this side of the camera. Once we hit go, it's my turn. So this arm is a stick. This arm is a stick. If it rotates as one piece. And throughout the motion, you're going to see why that makes sense. The first thing I would do is my stick is nice and straight here. I'm going to wind my stick this way like I'm wringing out a towel to point my thumb towards the wall behind me. That's external rotation. I want to eke out as much of that rotation as I can as I sweep my arm across the center of my body. And I want to keep the stick nice and straight. You'll see you want to bend your elbow. Bring the bicep towards your face. Now slowly bring your bicep towards your ear. If this is your first time doing it, follow along or just feel free to watch. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now from this position, so wherever this roadblock is for you, some people have to stop here, some people have to stop here, some people have to stop here. Wherever that is for you, that's okay, but you stop there. Now this stick is going to rotate. You'll notice that when you rotate, you're going to want to rotate here. I want you to rotate from here. This is the bone that goes in your shoulder, so we're going to rotate from there first. When we don't have any more of that rotation, the rest of our arm can rotate. I'm going to keep looking for that same rotation as I reach back behind me. And I keep trying to reach back behind me as I keep making that rotation. When I finish the first half of my rep, my knuckles are now facing my pocket. I'm going to reverse, trying to hold on to as much of this rotation as possible. When I can't go anymore, now I rotate back in the other direction. And I'm going to keep rotating in that direction as I come back through the same path I just came from. So you can see how we made a nice big circle in the sky with our fingertips and how we rotated the shoulder or the arm bone inside of the shoulder throughout that motion. That wringing out of the towel is very important as we go through the motion. That helps us really utilize all of the deepest layers of the joint and really squeeze out as much motion as we can. Those deepest layers of the joint don't have a lot of good blood flow and like nutrition. So when you really rotate and really look for that outer range, then you're going to help diffuse the nutrition through there by the movement of the tissues, of the muscles and whatnot. And now that we've done one, everybody has an idea of what it might feel like. So we're going to look to make a little bit of a bigger one if it's appropriate. You can just follow along with my cadence because now we kind of know the motion and you can kind of look at me and replicate it. Even if you don't know exactly what's going on, that's why we're going really slow. You have time to adjust. And even if it doesn't turn out exactly the way I do it, that's okay because what we want you to do is pay attention to how you articulate your shoulder and what you're feeling as you do it. Something else you can think about while you do this motion is that there are 4 lasers, 2 here and 2 here. They're shining straight ahead of me. Actually, put them on your backside. They're shining at the wall behind you. I don't want those lasers to move as you make this motion because we want all of the motion to come from the shoulder And we want to make sure that it's the shoulder making these motions, it's the shoulder rotating, it's the shoulder flexing, extending, and abducting, and everything else. Whatever motions the shoulder does, we want the shoulder to do by itself. That's our goal right now. That's our specific intention. Within that intention, there's added benefits, right? Good. So now we're going to do the other side. Some of the added benefits are, like I mentioned before, your brain remains familiar with this range of motion. So if you don't use your shoulder in a certain way, your brain will start to forget about that motion. And then the stuff that helps you do that motion, it will start to not be the type of stuff we want. It won't be the tissue we want. It will be stuff that just sits there and doesn't really suck up energy, or isn't really able to utilize energy or to go to certain positions or lengths because the brain has not asked it to do so. So if the brain doesn't ask it to do so, it physically adapts to that. And then when it physically adapts to that, now the brain can't get good information from there. So this is like a vicious cycle. It's something that we don't want to do, something we don't want to fall into. Doing cars is a very, very efficient and effective way to mitigate that. It's a very good way to maintain the health of the joint. It's a very good way to check in on your stuff daily. And it's the basis of what we do, and it's something that we ask everybody to utilize regularly, consistently on a daily basis. Okay, so now we've done cars with our shoulders. That's what those look like. We're going to go to elbow first before we go to shoulder blade, because elbow is a little bit harder for people to get in the beginning. Again, you can use whatever position you want, but we're going to first look at this part of our bone here, our arm here, I'm sorry. Now this is the stick, and I want from here to move as one piece. So as I think about rotation of the elbow, this is pronation, which is one rotation of the elbow. This is supination, which is another rotation of the elbow. Everybody would do this a couple times first. And pay attention to what you feel and where as you make this motion. As I'm rotating back and forth, now I'll start to pay attention to my elbow because I don't want my elbow to move. So take your other hand, take your pointer finger, either rest it lightly on the elbow or right inside the elbow. Now I want the amount of pressure on that finger to stay almost the same the whole time through. And I say almost the same just simply because as I make this rotation happen, some of my tissues have to hold a little more tone. So you might feel that against your finger. That's okay, but what I don't want is this elbow to move this way. Because if my elbow moves here to here, what's happening now? I'm moving from my shoulder when I'm asking my elbow to move. We want to be intentional. We want to make sure that whatever movements we're doing, it's the parts that play their role to the best of their ability. Now we're going to add those in with the second motion of the shoulder, which should be flexion and extension. So I'm just going to bend and straighten my arm as I do that rotation. So how do we do that? Now the inside of my elbow is pretty close to my rib cage, and I want to keep it there. So from here, my elbow is almost completely locked out. I'm going to make that first motion, which is supination. So this stick from here to here is rotating this way, out away from my body. So I've got as much of that motion as I can get. Now I'm going to bring the blade of my hand up towards my shoulder, but I'm still looking for more of that motion. So I keep looking for more of this rotation as I bring my hands to my shoulders. Now I'm going to say hi, and I'm going to pronate. I'm going to bring them in. And then I'm going to keep looking for that rotation as I come down. My elbow should still be in the same place. When I get to here, I'm going to flip it back over, being nice and slow and controlled. I'm going to bring it back up. Blade of the hand comes towards my shoulder. I pronate in. I come down. I'm pushing. The air has become dense, so I'm controlling my stuff, pushing my hand through the air. I'm going to flip it over one more time, nice and controlled. Bring the blade of the hand back towards my shoulder, hiding my shoulder. I'm saying hi to you. I keep looking for more of that motion as I go down. Keep looking for more of that motion as I go down. Now I freeze. The pits of my elbows should still be facing forward. I'm going to bring my hand back up like so now. Now I'm already showing you my palm when I get here. I'm going to rotate out. I'm going to look for as much of that rotation as possible. I've now exposed my shoulders, and I'm coming back down, looking for more supination as I go. Flipping it back over, this would be pronation again. I show you my knuckles, but I still show you the pit of my elbows. I look for more of that as I come up. I squeeze hard here. I rotate it back out. I bring it back down, still looking for more rotation. Back over, back up. You'll notice, so I'm going to show you something quickly. Everybody look at my right arm. So if I look for this motion, it looks like this. But as opposed to this, you can note the difference. You can note that I'm controlling more of my body. You can see it's apparent that I'm controlling this motion. Okay, so let's finish this. So what I want is I want each of the cars to feel like that. I want each of the cars, I want every motion that you do today with us to be controlled. I want it to be under your own volition. I want you to feel everything that's going on there. A lot of times we can just move and do something, but we don't feel that stuff working. A lot of what we want you to do is feel that stuff working and start to adapt it to force, start to become familiar with it in ways that our brain is not familiar with using it. Now we do shoulder blades. Again, I'm gonna do this from a kneeling position. You can do this from standing. You can do this from seated. You can do this from anywhere. And if there's a seam on my pants, if you don't have a seam on your pants, please just pretend you have one. And my middle finger is gonna reside somewhere close to there. It's allowed to slide up and down as much as it wants, but I don't want it to come too far forward or too far back. Because if I come too far forward, I start to look at what happens at the shoulder bone, the arm bone inside of my shoulder, right? This is that motion as opposed to this motion. So if this is protraction, that's different than this, which is protraction and some internal rotation of the shoulder. We want to be specific, we want to be precise. So I'm here, I'm nice and tall, I've zipped up my jacket, and then I'm going to slide up and down that seam first. I'm going to bring my shoulders up towards my ears like I'm saying I don't know. And then I'm going to start to drive my fingertips down towards the ground as far as I can. And then now I'm going to come back to somewhere in the middle. I'm going to let the front of my shoulders come together like so, but I'm going to do so without rounding through my back. I just want to feel the stuff that pushes my shoulder blades away from each other. Then I want to pull them back together as close as possible like they're friends. So between those 4 points, we're going to make a nice smooth circle, and we're going to touch every single millimeter within those 4 points as well. So we're trying to make as big of a circle as possible using just our shoulder blades. We're going to start to do that now. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears like you're saying, I don't know. Roll your shoulders forward towards your cheeks. Now start to push your your shoulders into your front pockets as you slide your fingertips towards the ground. From here, you're going to try to pull your shoulder blades together, still tracing the bottom of this motion. Now you keep them together as you bring them up towards the back of your head. And when they must come apart, you let them come apart a little bit. Then you reverse. Bring them back up. Then together, drive it down. Really drive it down. Now start to roll them forward into your front pockets again. Sweep them back up towards your face till your shoulders are near your ears. Now sweep them back towards your chin again, down into your front pocket, fingertips to the floor. Start to keep them near the floor as you pull them together. Keep them together as you bring them up towards the back of your head. They come forward a little bit and you reverse. Keep them together, drive them down, 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 down. Roll the shoulders towards the front pockets, up towards the face, reverse, back forward, down, down, together, up, 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 back of the head, break. So you might have heard a bunch of crinkly sounds when you did that. If you haven't done this before, you haven't been doing it a lot, that's okay. We don't really worry about noises as long as they don't hurt. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff from the prone position today or all fours. If that's not appropriate for you for whatever reason, you can put pads under your knees and you can use a couch or a table or some other object. Prone is usually okay for people. If none of those things work though, you can get against the wall and you can do the same things. The gravity acts on your tissues in a little bit of a different way, but you'll still get great benefit. So if all else fails and you can't use the floor, just put yourself up against the wall, and you can stand against the wall, you can be in a kneeling position, you can do any variety of things. If you're having too much trouble, just drop a note, please. Okay, so we're going to go to a prone position first, which means I will be face down. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start to see, so when we originally put this together because we did doing some steel mace stuff this next couple weeks, and if you haven't seen it, on Rich's page, there's a bunch of steel mace swinging stuff, but you have this steel tool that you essentially start from here, it drops back here, and you swing it back around. It's a real nice, cool looking movement, but the load is offset, so that creates some things that we need to be prepared for in terms of what the tissue needs to adapt to, and also that motion is a great skill. So the parts that do that skill are the parts that we're going to work on today. But the good thing about that is, again, this applies to throwing, this applies to being overhead. If you fight or do jiu-jitsu, this is great for you as well. For escapes, for being able to change positions quickly, for baiting somebody with a submission. I know it's not a good idea for most people. I do this sometimes though. And being in a safe environment there. So I'll show you quickly the first thing that we're gonna do, and then we'll follow along together. I'm gonna be in a prone position, and my shoulder will be in what we call flexion. So this is flexion, this is the overhead position. Like I said, if this isn't appropriate for you though, you can adjust yourself along a wall and back up some, or you can be all fours and change the angle of the shoulder in relation to the thing that your hand is on, the couch, the table, whatever you may have. So from this position, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to start to really feel what it feels like to just move my shoulder. So when we'll go through it together, I'm gonna go through it quickly so we know what to expect. The first thing I'll do is I'll stay here and I'll just make my arm light on the floor, but it doesn't move from the floor. Then I'm gonna slowly relax. Now that I know what that feels like and I know what does that, this is the motion that we will do. It looks similar to the shoulder card that we just did. So I lift my arm off as one unit, as high as I can. Then I start to bring it out away from me as I pour out the soda. And I keep pouring out the soda as I trace my fingertips through the sky towards the ceiling. And when I get to about here, I'm gonna bend my elbow and bring my fingertips as high on my back as I can. And then I'm gonna let my elbow drop. I'm then gonna pull my shoulder blade back in towards my spine as my elbow comes up. And now my fingers are light on my back. I start to straighten my arm. I start to sweep it back the way I came. I'm slowly feeling every single millimeter of that motion until I get to here, and I slowly set it down again. And we're gonna try to go at about that cadence. Okay, so now that we're here, so everybody, let's get in this prone position and put our arm overhead, and I'm gonna talk you through some stuff. So we're here, and then now that I'm in the prone position, everybody's here. I want you to slowly make your arm light on the ground. Real light, but it stays on the ground. Okay. Now that you know what that feels like, I want you to do it again, and I want you to pay attention to what happens to the left side of your body, notably your left leg and the front of your left thigh. If you didn't feel anything, that's great. If you did, there's nothing wrong with that. That just tells you that we're looking for things as we start to try to stabilize our body to lift our arm off the ground. Again, none of these things are good or bad. These are just things that we need to know. What we are concerned about is whatever on the side that we're working, our chest, I want it to be stable to the ground. So I don't want that to leave as we start to make this motion. All right? Okay, so everybody remembers the motion. If you don't, please just observe on the first rep, or you can just listen to us and go through it together. We're gonna start to do this motion now. So I'm gonna slowly lift my arm off the ground, taking it as high as I can, keeping my arm straight. I'm going to reach it out away from me as I start to pour out the soda, as I internally rotate my shoulder. And I'm going to try to wring out as much of that motion as I can as I sweep it behind me. Fingertips come higher, higher, freeze. You should feel your back arm here. Keep rotating and go a little further. If I put my arm down right now, there would be about a foot between my hand and my hip. Hold here, bend the elbow slowly, keeping the elbow high. Bring the fingertips to your back. Slowly let the elbow drop. Good. Now feel the stuff on the inside of your shoulder blade and let that stuff pull your shoulder blade towards your spine as your elbow comes up high. High. Fingertips come off. The arm becomes straight. I bring my fingertips a little higher. I start to sweep it back. Slowly, under control. My bicep is getting close to my ear now. My arm is straight. I set my pinky side down onto the floor slowly. Good. Take a breath, sniff some air into your stomach. This time I'm going to ask you to squeeze your butt while we do this. So squeeze your butt and keep the attention in your midsection. The arm is light. Now the arm comes off. I sweep it out and away as I pour out the soda. I keep sweeping, keep rotating. Now start to bend the elbow. Fingertips come high on the back. Elbow drops down. Elbow comes back up. Keep the elbow high, straighten the arm. Sweep it back out. And slowly set it down, pinky side first. Okay. So those reps count, but this is the way that we're actually going to do the activity for now. So if you look at the other side of your hip, and only if this is appropriate for you and only to the degree that it is appropriate. So I want your other hip to be here. So when I'm laying down, it would be this position. If you can't achieve this, this is okay. If you can't achieve that, that's okay. If you can't achieve that, even this is okay. I just want to split apart the base of the lower body just a little bit. So everybody, let's go back to that position now. And you're gonna wanna try to feel the pocket of that hip that's up close to the floor. And remember, it's the leg on the other side that is in this position of the is opposite to the side of the shoulder we're working. Okay, now the hand on the leg that's bent out to the side, I want the arm to sort of match that. That means it's straight out to the side, like almost like you're doing a field goal position with that one arm. So we're gonna start there. Okay, now let's make the arm straight again. Let's lift the arm up. Pour out the soda as you sweep it out and behind you, and up, up, up. Fingertips high, arms straight. Freeze. Begin to bend the elbow. Bring the fingertips to the back. Slowly drop it down. When it touches, bring it right back up, slowly and controlled. Open up, straighten the arm, squeeze there, rotate it back as it comes back to the same place it came from. So arm is straight, pinky side slowly lowers to the floor. Take a breath, up, out and away as you rotate. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Hand goes high, high, high. Bend the elbow slowly. Tap the back, elbow comes down. Take a breath, elbow comes back up. Straighten the elbow, sweep it back the way it came from. Keep going, pinky faces the floor. Slowly hover it down. Okay, we're gonna do one more. Here we go. Stay in position, sniff some air into your stomach. Squeeze your butt. Lift arm off, sweep it out, rotate, 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 fingers high, fingers high. Now slowly bend the elbow. Hand comes to back. Elbow slowly comes down, touch the floor. Elbow comes back up. Straighten out the elbow, sweep it back, and slowly lower the arm down. Good. Let's switch and do the other side.